Namaste everyone. In today's video, we're going to focus on Muni Patanjali's Yoga Sutra 3.39. Now in this particular Yoga Sutra, Muni Patanjali is explaining to us the possibility of levitation, how that develops as a power for the Yoga Sadhak, and also how a Yoga Sadhak can actually control the time of death. So let's take a good look at this sutra, start breaking it up word by word and understanding how exactly is this possible and what is being indicated by the sutra. So the sutra itself goes, Udana Jaya Jvala Panka Kantakadishva Sanga Utkrantischa. Alright, so this is the sutra itself. Now let's start breaking it up word by word to understand it a little bit better. The first word over here is Udana. Now this is referring to a particular type of prana. There are 5 different pranas within the human body and Udana is one of them. It's primarily concerned with the region above the chest and it indicates the ability to move things upwards. So it's believed that there are different types of prana or vayus within the body or air forms which kind of have different functions. So the movement downwards, upwards, certain specific qualities of what they're supposed to do within the body. And so this particular one is related to the upward movement phenomena. Now coming to the next word, we have Jaya. So Jaya, just like we learned earlier as well, refers to mastery or really thoroughly mastering something. Alright, then the next word here is Jala. So Jala, very easy word, it means water and it very often refers to, it's not used as often on a daily basis while speaking, but it is a form of Jala. Otherwise, normally in Hindi we say Pani, but Jala means water as well. Now coming to the next word, we have Panka. And here it's referring to mud or some kind of marshy land or area. Then the next word here is Kantaka, which refers to thorn. So basically just like we have thorny roses, sometimes you can also have thorns on the floor or actual pointy needles or thorns. So it's referring to pointed objects. And then the next word here is Adi, which means etc. Alright, and the word after that says Asanga. Okay, so in the initial part they explain Udan, then they explain certain, water, marsh, thorns, etc. And now they're saying Asanga, which means non-contact. And the last 2 words here are Utkranti. So Utkranti can have 2 meanings. One is levitation and the second means death at will. Okay, so we're going to study that, but these are the 2 meanings. And then we have Cha. So Cha means and also. Alright, so these are all the words and their meanings. Now let's go even deeper within this particular sutra to see what is being explained to us. So what is being said is through the mastery over Udana, which through doing sanyam on it, which is dharana, dhyana and samadhi. So we really concentrate on the process of Udan, the vayu of Udan itself. And then as we do so, we learn how to make non-contact with water, marshy land and thorny areas. So we're able to almost rise above them in a way through the processes of levitation and also death at will. Alright, so this is the meaning in short of this particular sutra. Now let's really deep dive into it and start understanding how this could be possible. So essentially the sutra is teaching us how the body can gain a certain sense of lightness. So being able to rise above water or walk on water like that, or evade marshy ground or rise above thorns, it's important to have a certain kind of lightness in the body, and that is only controlled by how the kind of vayus are moving throughout the body or the pranic forces are moving. Now by controlling and mastering the Udana Vayu, which is within the body, what ends up happening is one is really able to focus on how that can be used to make the body more buoyant and more light. So as the body becomes lighter with respect to the gravitational pull, actually starts rising above or rises just enough to be above a certain kind of surface area. So this is obviously only controllable if we have great knowledge of our own bodies, if we have great knowledge of the air pathways in our systems. And as you can imagine, just the way externally, if you imagine a plane, for a pilot to be able to fly it through the air, they have to have a very fantastic understanding of the plane, how everything functions, there's a technology to it, and how it actually rises up off the ground and into the air. And so similarly, if you think of your own body as a plane, you have to have very great technical knowledge of your own self, the depths of your body and how you control it, to be able to take it off the ground like that. So it requires very deep understanding. So pilots will externally study the plane, study the process of flying, engage in training, where yoga sadhaks engage in yoga practice. They meditate, they go really, really deeper than most normal average practitioners. And through that depth, they're able to actually, understand and unravel such techniques and technologies of the body that they're able to do these things which seem miraculous to us, but which for them is just a technology. If somebody a couple of, centuries ago were to look at a plane and just the number of planes that fly in today's day and age, like flights every day, every single day. So if somebody from centuries ago were to look at that in the air, they would be scared, right? They would think, how is that even possible? So it's something similar. We don't understand the technology. We've not gone that deep. We've not sat down with the meditative process. So anybody else doing it is we're not going to know how that's possible. And I think the thing about the meditative practices is that they're more experiential. It's difficult to put it into words. It's just something that comes with tapa and practice. Unlike the, situation with pilots, etc., where it's more external, it's explainable. I think the yoga processes are so deeply spiritual and involve such subtle techniques that they can't even be put into words. It's just something that in Gurukuls was practiced and taught one by one through the lineage and through the, it's from the Guru to the Shishya. So it takes time. It's not something that is going to happen very easily in the modern day and age, but that is essentially what it means. Now, coming to the important point here is that the first meaning, of course, is levitation and being able to create buoyancy within the body. But the second meaning is also referring to death at will with the word Utkranti. Now, this is again very important. In some of the previous sutras, we've touched a little bit upon Mahasamadhi. We have touched a little bit upon death at will that yoga sadhaks are able to do. Now, why would a yoga sadhak want to do that, right? Because in yoga philosophy, or really strictly speaking, spiritual practice, it is believed that if a yogi can leave their body at will, that means they've controlled life and death. It's not possible for normal people to choose when they're going to die, how they're going to die. We know we're all going to, right? But we just don't know when and how. So if a yogi can control that, it's just you've controlled the life process itself. You've understood everything. So when a person is able to leave the body at will like that, they leave usually from the 10th door, which we call the Brahmarandra, at the top of the head. And so when the pranic life force leaves that space, there's usually a little bit of the cracking of the skull from the force with which that energy leaves the body. And it is said there are a lot of Siddha yogis or people who have attained Mahasamadhi who leave the body like that. If you go and concentrate on their skulls, you will actually see a certain type of crack or some type of opening to indicate that they have actually left through that practice upwards. And again, as we can see, this is the upward movement, quite in sync with the ability to control Udana Vayu or Udana Pran. So therefore, it's being connected in the sutra. Udan is being directly connected in this case to the ability to, pass away at will. Now, if an accomplished yogi is able to do this, they will completely leave from the Brahmarandhra. The reason is that they leave and they merge with the Brahman itself. So death through this door is considered to merge into the infinite itself. Very interestingly, the area of the skull is also called bregma in English, which is very similar and closely sounding to the word Brahma. And so there are chances that there could have been a distortion of the word Brahma over time and become bregma as we now hear it, but it's not something we know for sure, but it definitely sounds very similar. So what is also said in a lot of cases is that in case the person who's leaving the body is not able to completely crack the skull like that and there's still a little bit of a slight bit of an opening, sometimes other disciples or sadhaks will also use a conch shell to kind of deepen that opening so any leftover prana can leave the body very easily. So these are some processes and practices that are done to aid the yoga sadhak who is choosing to pass away at will in order to merge with the infinite or the Brahman and kind of, evade the cycle of birth and death, get out of that cycle of suffering and completely move into the next realm. Now, after having heard that, we have to keep in mind this may not be applicable for a lot of us who are modern day yoga sadhaks and practitioners. We may not yet be ready or willing or interested in going down such a deep path of yoga, which involves mahasamadhi, etc. These are very, very spiritual practices. Only certain people go on that path. So after hearing this information, you don't have to think that this is something you're being asked to do, not at all. This is just part of the sutra, part of certain people who are moving along the spiritual path. You don't have to do it and you don't have to go in that direction if you don't want to. The choice is always ours. If we choose to live in the modern world and continue to engage with it, then that's what we're doing. That's why we're all on YouTube and we're actually still in the material world and we choose to be here. So that's our choice. But this is just to give you an idea and to give you information as to what certain yoga practitioners and sadhaks who are really serious about merging in with the infinite, how they move in that direction, and how this practice becomes possible through the concentration on sanyam, which is the air that moves upwards, the vayu that carries, anything that the body requires to the top. So that's why this is such an important sutra, something to think about. I mean, we covered levitation all the way up to death at will. So I can imagine it being highly informative to say the least. Lot of information. Keep taking notes from this video, play it back, watch it again if you need to. But that's essentially what this is all about. Now with that, we move to the close of this video. So I'd like to end by saying that if you enjoyed it, please do leave your thoughts, suggestions and comments in the comment section below. Don't forget to give us a big thumbs up and also share this video with your friends and family if you found it useful, if you think they could benefit from it as well. At the same time, if you're interested in learning more deeply about the Yoga Sutras or yoga philosophy, feel free to connect with us through our courses, classes or workshops, the link for which is in the description. Now we look forward to seeing you in the next video or in the next class. Until then, take care, keep practicing, and we're going to see you very soon. Namaste.